Hello and welcome. Today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's about as fun as a root canal performed by a bear with shaky paws. Countries on the verge of collapse. We're talking economic meltdowns, social unrest, the whole shebang. I'm talking full-blown, is it even going to be a country next year, levels of chaos. So, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to embark on a whirlwind tour of 13 countries that are facing some seriously dark days ahead. And believe me, it's not going to be pretty. Chapter 1. Venezuela, Paradise Lost. Venezuela was once a beacon of prosperity, now a cautionary tale. Hyperinflation so severe you need a wheelbarrow of cash for bread. Food shortages have led to desperate measures. Years of corruption and mismanagement created this crisis. Yet people still fight for a better future. Their resilience might spark a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 2. Zimbabwe, from breadbasket to basket case. Next we travel to Zimbabwe, a country that was once known as the breadbasket of Africa. Now it's more like the basket case of Africa. Robert Mugabe single-handedly turned a thriving economy into a masterclass in hyperinflation and economic mismanagement. Under his watchful eye, unemployment skyrocketed, inflation went through the roof, and the country's currency became about as valuable as a screen door on a submarine. The good news? Mugabe is gone. The bad news? The damage is done, and Zimbabwe is still struggling to recover from his disastrous reign. Chapter 3. Sudan, a country divided. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading to Sudan, a country that's been locked in a seemingly endless cycle of conflict and instability. Years of authoritarian rule under Omar al-Bashir left the country deeply divided, with tensions simmering between different ethnic groups and political factions. The transition to democracy? Yeah, that's been about as smooth as a cheese grater made of sandpaper. Protests, violence, and political maneuvering are the order of the day, leaving the Sudanese people caught in the middle of a power struggle they never asked for. Will Sudan ever find peace and stability? Honestly, it's hard to say. Chapter 4. Lebanon, the Paris of the Middle East, now burning. Lebanon's economy is currently circling the drain faster than a goldfish in a toilet bowl, thanks to a delightful cocktail of corruption, mismanagement, and more explosions than a Michael Bay film festival. The Lebanese pound. It's gone down faster than a shot of tequila on an empty stomach, leaving the once thriving middle class struggling to afford even the most basic necessities. Protests have erupted, demanding an end to the corruption and incompetence that's brought the country to its knees. Will Lebanon rise from the ashes like a phoenix, or will it continue to spiral into chaos? Chapter 5. Algeria, the revolution that wasn't. Remember the Arab Spring? Yeah, Algeria got a taste of that sweet, sweet revolutionary spirit back in 2019. People took to the streets demanding change, democracy, and maybe a decent cup of coffee for once. The old guard was out, a new president was in, and hope was in the air like the scent of freshly baked baguettes. But then, reality set in. Turns out getting rid of a dictator is the easy part. Will Algeria finally break free from its authoritarian past, or will it remain trapped in a cycle of revolution and repression? Chapter 6. Nicaragua, a slow-motion car crash. Daniel Ortega, Nicaragua's president for life, or at least that's what he seems to think, has been busy consolidating his power, silencing dissent, and generally making life miserable for anyone who dares to question his rule. Protests? Yeah, those happen. But they're usually met with a healthy dose of tear gas, rubber bullets, and the occasional disappearance. The economy? Don't even get me started on the economy. Let's just say it's about as healthy as a chain smoker's lungs after a marathon. So, is there any hope for Nicaragua? Well, stranger things have happened. Hold on to your fez, because we're about to enter the world of Turkish politics, where things are about as stable as a house of cards built on a roller coaster. At the helm is Recep Tayyip Erdogan, a man who's been in power for so long he's practically part of the furniture, and he's not exactly known for his love of dissent or, basic human rights. The stakes are high, the tension is palpable, and the outcome is anyone's guess. Will Erdogan manage to cling to power? Or will Turkey finally turn the page on his authoritarian rule? Get ready for some load shedding in South Africa, where an energy crisis makes your average power outage look like a picnic. Eskom, the state-owned power utility, is about as reliable as a used car salesman in a hurricane. Rolling blackouts are the norm, plunging the country into darkness and hurting the economy. But South Africans are resilient and have weathered many storms before. Here's hoping they can pull through and get the reliable electricity they deserve. Get ready for some deja vu, because we're about to enter the chaotic world of Iraqi politics, where the more things change, the more they stay the same. Remember the US invasion of Iraq back in 2003? Yeah, that went well, didn't it? Fast forward to today, and Iraq is still grappling with the aftermath, along with corruption, sectarian violence, and a government that's about as functional as a chocolate fire guard. Protests have erupted, demanding an end to corruption, better living conditions, and a government that cares. But so far, those demands have been met with a brutal crackdown, proving that in Iraq, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Will Iraq ever find peace and stability? Only time will tell. Chapter 10. Somalia, a Nation Adrift. Hold on to your cot, because we're about to enter the lawless world of Somalia, a country that's been synonymous with chaos and instability for decades. Piracy, terrorism, famine, you name it. Somalia's probably got it. Al-Shabaab, the militant Islamist group, controls large swaths of the country, terrorizing the population and making life a living hell for anyone who doesn't subscribe to their extreme ideology. International aid groups are doing their best to help, but it's like trying to put out a dumpster fire with a squirt gun. Will this war-torn nation ever find peace and stability? Honestly, it's hard to be optimistic. Get ready for some heartbreak, because we're about to enter South Sudan, a country that's been ravaged by conflict and instability since the day it was born. South Sudan is the world's youngest country, having gained independence from Sudan in 2011. But their hard-won freedom has been marred by a brutal civil war that's killed hundreds of thousands of people and displaced millions more. The UN has described the situation in South Sudan as the most rapidly deteriorating humanitarian crisis in the world. Millions of people are facing starvation, disease is rampant, and the country's infrastructure is in shambles. Is there any hope for South Sudan? It's hard to say. Hold on to your adult diapers, because we're headed to Japan, a country that's facing a demographic crisis so severe it makes your average retirement home look like a rave. Japan has the oldest population in the world, with more people over the age of 65 than anywhere else. It's a problem that's been dubbed the Silver Tsunami, and it's threatening to swamp Japan's economy faster than you can say konnichiwa. The government's been trying to encourage people to have more babies, but so far those efforts have been about as successful as a vegan trying to convert a pack of wolves. So, what's the solution? More immigration, higher taxes, robot caregivers? Only time will tell. Get ready for some hurricane-force winds, because we're headed to Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory battered by natural disasters and political turmoil. Remember Hurricane Maria in 2017? It wiped out power grids, destroyed homes, and left the island in shambles. Years later, Puerto Rico is still struggling to recover. The economy is in the tank, and the debt is sky high. But amidst the chaos, there's a glimmer of hope. Puerto Ricans are resilient and determined to rebuild. 13 countries are facing tough times. It's enough to make you want to hide. But don't despair, there's always hope. Resilient people are fighting for a better future. Which country is most at risk? What can be done? Let me know in the comments below, and check out my other videos.